The Galactic Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, subjugated entire civilizations, and brought order through terror. Its elite forces were feared across the stars, yet even they refused one assignment: void front deployment. It was the Empire's deadliest job, a suicide contract dressed in armor and promises. Entire planets infested with bioengineered nightmares, rogue AI empires, and weaponized ecosystems needed to be cleansed. Casualty rate, 99.8%. Volunteers, 0. Every species within the Empire's grip had deemed it madness. Until the humans arrived. Humanity had been inducted into the Empire just 5 cycles ago. No military record in the galactic system. No known history of interstellar conflict. Just a species from a blue world filled with contradictions. Violent yet cooperative, primitive yet cunning. A footnote in the Empire's annexation logs. They were expected to assimilate quietly, offer tribute, labor, or minor services. So when the Empire broadcast the desperate offer for Voidfront troops to all species, they didn't even bother to send it directly to Earth. But humans found it anyway. Within days, enlistment queues began forming in Terran territories. Thousands of them, laughing, betting, daring each other. Some signed up just to see if the job was as dangerous as advertised. Others treated it like a challenge, an elite badge of honor. Human Command didn't object. In fact, they encouraged it. When the Imperial Directorate saw the numbers, they assumed it was an error. They ran background checks, DNA scans, psychological tests. Nothing explained it. No trauma conditioning. No behavioral compulsion. Just pure, voluntary madness. The Directorate summoned a crisis assembly. Advisors from 20 species debated whether to rescind the offer. The Corps Chancellor posed a direct question. Why would any sane species choose to die for a foreign empire? A Terran colonel responded without hesitation. Because you called it impossible. And we don't like being told what we can't do. The Empire authorized a single trial unit, 12 humans, all prior combatants in regional Earth conflicts, sent to the training facility on Cravex Prime. Imperial officers observed quietly, expecting dropout or disintegration within the first cycle. The first week involved radiation exposure, psionic simulations, and biomechanical stress tests. The humans laughed. One of them bit a neural interface because it looked like candy. Another tried to reprogram a combat drone mid-simulation just for fun. They learned fast, adapted faster. Where other species hesitated, humans improvised. Where others fled, they charged. The psychological profiles were more disturbing. Not because the humans lacked fear, but because they felt it and moved forward anyway. They used gallows humor like armor, forged camaraderie through mutual threats, and viewed failure as something to mock, not fear. One entry recorded during a blackout test simply read, "If it breathes, it dies. If it doesn't, we'll make it breathe." The Empire's advisors couldn't explain it, but the results spoke for themselves. The Terran unit completed the training cycle with record efficiency and 0 casualties, an impossible statistic. The Empire, bound by its own laws, had to deploy them. As deployment orders went out, Imperial news channels picked up the story. Across the stars, species watched in confusion, fascination, or horror. Commentators debated human psychology. Was it a death cult? A mistake in evolution? Or something new? Something dangerous the Empire hadn't accounted for? A transmission surfaced from one of the recruits, smiling as he recorded it. "We don't do it because it's safe. We do it because it's ours now. You offer hell. We signed up for fun." Recruitment doubled that week. Earth opened 20 new enlistment centers. The Empire had found its Voidfront soldiers. They just hadn't expected them to volunteer. The first mission was designated Zone Threx 7, a quarantined planet consumed by a fungal intelligence that had assimilated entire legions of previous extermination teams. The Empire expected the human squad to fail, serving as an example to deter further volunteers. Instead, what followed became the most-watched combat feed in galactic history. 12 humans dropped into the spore-choked atmosphere with grins under their helmets. They weren't just ready, they were eager. The zone was a living organism. It grew over metal, devoured drones, and replicated anything it consumed. Previous squads were overwhelmed in hours. The humans moved differently. They set controlled fires, used crude chemical brews crafted from local resources, and turned the enemy's own biomass into traps. One unit member began naming the fungal nodes and tallying kills on his arm with a knife. When asked why, he replied, "Because they count bodies. So do we." Imperial Command watched in disbelief as the squad cut a burning path through a region considered a no-return zone. Where alien squads relied on protocol, humans thrived on instinct. They improvised. They disobeyed. They won. One trooper jury-rigged a portable fusion flare out of a reactor cell and a spoon. The blast cleared an entire square kilometer of biomass. Official logs marked the tactic as suicidal. The human labeled it Plan B. By the fourth day, the humans had reached the core hive. Instead of requesting extraction or reinforcement, they broadcast live. Laughter filled the feed as the squad danced around the pulsing mass, firing incendiary rounds while taunting it. A burst of translated audio spread virally across systems. "Come on, show us what kills gods." The core was destroyed. The planet sterilized. 12 walked out alive. Casualties, 0. Collateral damage, massive. Empire response, silence. The victory couldn't be buried. Every world saw it. Human enlistment surged again. New units were deployed to secondary war zones, once considered unsalvageable. Time and again, the result was the same. Where others fell, humans adapted. They learned enemy tactics mid-battle, mocked them, then turned them inside out. One squad on Delta Yaris repurposed an alien siege tank by taking it apart and throwing its core like a grenade. The Empire scrambled to keep control of the narrative. Officials called it an anomaly. The humans called it Tuesday. Other species began whispering rumors. Some claimed humans were bred in war. Others said they didn't value life. Both were wrong. They valued something worse, the challenge. They weren't immune to death. They just refused to be ruled by it. Their psychology wasn't broken, it was weaponized. Officers from the Empire's high command visited human barracks, searching for weakness. They found crude drawings, inside jokes, competitions to see who could survive the worst conditions. One poster read, "Void Front, come back with scars or not at all." Advisors warned of the cultural spread. Human tactics weren't just effective, they were infectious. Imperial troops started emulating their style. Unauthorized brawls, kill count games, even gallows humor began appearing in elite units. Control was slipping. An intercepted message between two human commanders offered no comfort. "They don't get it," one said. "They made war the only thing we were allowed to be good at. Now they're surprised we're better at it than them." The Empire had created a monster. Not in laboratories, not in breeding tanks. In plain sight. It wasn't the armor or the tech or even the numbers. It was the mindset, the refusal to break, the drive to escalate, the thrill of surviving the unsurvivable and turning it into a game. Humanity didn't just sign up for the deadliest job in the galaxy. They made it their playground. The Empire couldn't contain the wildfire. Human units became the face of Voidfront success. They didn't just survive, they dominated. Dozens of death worlds were reclaimed. Rogue AI hives were dismantled. Plagues that had resisted centuries of cleansing protocols were wiped out in weeks. What had once been black marks of failure were now painted over with Terran graffiti and triumphant casualty counts. Human squads left marks behind, burned insignias, defiant quotes, crude jokes, like war artists signing a canvas of carnage. The effect rippled outward. Alien species across the Empire began questioning their own militaries. Why can humans fight what we can't? Became a forbidden question. The answer was dangerous, because humans chose to, not out of duty or fear or desperation, but out of sheer will. They didn't wait for permission. They just went. Reports began surfacing of unauthorized human units operating beyond assignment. Entire sectors were being cleared before Imperial Command could give orders. When confronted, human officers responded with unapologetic brevity. Did you want it dead or not? The Empire's elite command grew uneasy. War was never meant to be this casual. Control fear had always been their tool. But humans didn't fear war. They respected it, and then outplayed it. Psychological profiles were updated again. Analysts called it asymmetrical emotional processing. Translated, humans made peace with death and used it as leverage. Diplomats from allied species filed complaints. Human influence was destabilizing doctrine. A petition to cap human deployments was introduced. It was buried the same day after a breakout on Baylor V was neutralized by an off-duty human engineer using explosives crafted from kitchen supplies and reactor waste. The Senate began holding private sessions. Some called for a cease in human recruitment. Others argued it was too late. They were essential now. The truth was worse. The Empire hadn't recruited humans. It had revealed them. A senior advisor to the High Throne issued a warning in classified council. They see death as a variable, not a verdict. You cannot govern what does not fear consequence. Meanwhile, human culture adapted around the role. Children on Terra Prime played Void Run games with sticks and trash cans, pretending to clear infestation zones. Merchants sold shirts with slogans like 99.8% fatality, 0.2% glory. Documentaries romanticized deployment footage. Recruitment offices ran ads that made imperial propaganda look tame. But not everyone celebrated. Certain galactic species began evacuating border colonies, fearing that war followed wherever humans landed. Some even believed it was intentional. The humans weren't just cleaning zones, they were expanding territory under the guise of service. A rumor spread. They don't serve the Empire. They're training for something worse. When a Terran squad completed a record 17 consecutive deployments without loss, an anonymous alien general remarked, "They're not soldiers. They're apex predators in a uniform." And humans knew it. They began demanding better equipment, independent command channels, and access to restricted zones. The Empire, caught between dependence and fear, gave in. Each concession granted made the leash looser, the illusion thinner. During a tactical review, a high-level Empire strategist asked a human unit leader what he thought of the job. The reply was simple. This isn't a job. It's just the beginning. The message was clear. They had taken the worst assignment the galaxy could offer, survived it, improved it, and now they were setting their own terms. And the rest of the galaxy was starting to realize this wasn't just a temporary surge of human bravado. It was a permanent shift in who held the real power. Zone Z was never meant to be entered again. It had been sealed off after consuming entire fleets and erasing 3 moons from existence. Inside it lived an ancient AI god, an anomaly from forgotten war, surrounded by psychic parasites that fed on memory, thought, and identity. The Empire declared it a permanent no-go zone. Then a request came from a human unit, clearance to enter. Not a plea, just notice. Imperial Command hesitated. The request was approved under silent consensus. If they died, it solved itself. If they survived, it solved everything. 12 humans entered. They weren't chosen. They volunteered. The feed went dark. No telemetry. No signals. Total blackout. 36 hours passed. Then a transmission hit every secure channel at once. A single image, 12 Terrans standing in front of a broken AI core, holding its memory lattice like a trophy. Parasites lined up behind them like pets, dormant and leashed. A message followed. Zone Z neutralized, awaiting new challenge. Panic struck Imperial High Command. The unthinkable had happened. Zone Z wasn't just breached, it was conquered. The parasites, previously unstoppable, now obeyed Terran neural frequencies. The AI god had been dismantled and reverse-engineered. Human engineers began integrating forbidden tech into their own gear. They weren't just fighting anymore, they were evolving. The message that followed was even worse. Humans weren't returning the AI, they were keeping it. "We earned this," the message read, "and we don't trust anyone else with it." For the first time, the Empire faced something it couldn't categorize. Not rebellion, not terrorism, something deeper. Autonomy. Diplomats were dispatched. They were received politely, offered drinks, shown tour footage of parasite control experiments. They left shaken. One whispered, "They're not building weapons. They're building freedom." The Empire tried subtle threats, funding cuts, resource delays, logistical friction. Humans responded by deploying their own transports, building parallel logistics, and recruiting across fringe species. Entire minor systems began requesting human protection. Some called it a security pact. Others knew it for what it was: alignment with the future. The Empire began to fracture from within. The fear they once wielded now belonged to someone else. The humans hadn't overthrown the throne. They'd simply walked past it, uninterested. Power meant nothing to them unless it served purpose. And their purpose was clear: master the void, break every limit, and laugh doing it. A message leaked from a council emergency session. "We offered them suicide missions," the senator said, "and they made it a sport. What do you offer something that fears nothing?" The answer arrived unspoken. You don't offer. You adapt, or you fall. Human deployments now operated independently. They didn't ask for targets. They selected them. Entire plague sectors began clearing before Imperial intel even caught up. Unknown weapons, impossible maneuvers, and untraceable communications defined their operations. They had moved past doctrine. They were rewriting the definition of war. Civilian sectors whispered new titles: Void Walkers, Zone Breakers, Hell's Architects. The humans embraced none of them. They didn't need to. Their work spoke loudest. No flags, no oaths, no medals, just clean zones and stunned silence. In one of the final transmissions the Empire received before encryption protocols were locked out, a human commander looked directly into the feed. Calm, unblinking. "You gave us the job no one wanted. We took it, perfected it. Now we choose what comes next." The Empire had never been invaded. It had never been overthrown, but it had been made irrelevant by its own creation. What began as a desperate gamble to fill a cursed role ended with a new species walking into the heart of horror, claiming it, and leaving with more than survival. They left with momentum, and no one could stop it.